Is that better? As we speak, yes, we're supposed to turn our mics on. Yes.
Good morning. Stephanie Adams.
Here.
David Wortman. Nelson Boyer.
Here.
Lisa Eastep.
Here.
Judy Justice.
Here.
Jeanette Nichols.
Here.
And Bill Ravenbark.
Great, thank you very much. We have a fairly simple agenda. Can I call for a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
I would like to suggest 2 additions to the agenda. Okay, let me see what I wrote down. One of them has to do with a discussion on the access to the public for our future meetings.
We actually have placed that on the agenda for Tuesday's board meeting.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, and the other item on the agenda that I would like to add would be onboarding of new board members after the election.
And I think, yes, and that's a very important topic, Ms. Justice, and we definitely want to speak about that, but I think that we're going to have to do that at another time, simply because today's agenda is, we want to stick to the 2 hours, and these basic introductory pieces is going to take about that much time with the pieces that Dr. Faust is going to share with us today, but we definitely want to consider that as something, either a meeting item or a discussion item in the very near future.
Well, the sooner the better, because the election's rapidly approaching.
Yes.
And our onboarding was very difficult last time. We had absolutely no input. I heard there was information out there.
You had
and
more than I
it was
had.
never shared with us. I know people had put stuff together, but it was never shared with us.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, there are actually onboarding opportunities from the North Carolina State School Board Association.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that we need to also discuss, because last time I think only a couple of us actually attended, and I think it would be very, very important on top of whatever we offer. For also our new members to take part in as soon as possible.
Agreed.
It's, everybody has to attend.
Not everybody attended.
Oh, no, not the onboarding.
The one in Raleigh you're talking about?
About
Yeah,
your 101, not 101, but your, yes.
Yeah, the one in Raleigh it's
Required.
mandatory.
That's
Yeah.
It's
mandatory.
mandatory. We have to go next time. It's every 2 years. You have to
Yeah.
go.
Well, I'm talking about the new members right now specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
yeah.
maybe we could do that in the interim meeting.
That's, yeah, we can
discussion.
definitely talk about that, yes, because it is an important conversation, and I know that that Ms. Eastep had started some of those conversations about putting some things together, and Dr. Faust is very well versed in onboarding of new members as well. So that's definitely, we will put that as a agenda item in the very near future. I think Tuesday's meeting may be full, but we can look at for the interim meeting.
Okay, Tuesday's meeting also, is that a closed meeting?
No,
That's what it's been listed as.
it's an interim meeting. So it's
I know,
not-
I'm correct. I'm just, for some reason online it said, that's why I was trying to figure that one out.
Do you mean a closed session?
Maybe it was a personnel session that they saw.
There is-
posted
there is
online.
a
That was
closed-
just
there is a
post- It
closed
was just
session
posted? It was just posted,
portion.
okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda as is? And Ms. Justice, thank you. We will make sure that we address all of those.
So moved.
Do we have a Second. And any other discussion?
Mr. Boyer.
Okay. Ms. Bowie? Aye.
Mr. Boyer.
Aye.
Miss Eastep.
Aye.
Miss Justice.
Aye.
Miss Nichols.
Aye.
And Mr. Ravenbark.
All right. Our third item on the agenda is introductory discussion. And first off, just let me say thank you, everybody, for being here on a Saturday morning. This is a great opportunity for us to sit together in a more informal setting. Miss Eastep is online with us remotely. Hello, Miss Eastep. Hope you are doing well. But the purpose of today is, as you know, Dr. Faust came in 2 weeks ago, and he is furiously learning our district. He is drinking by a fire hose by all of the things that he is getting thrown into as we talk about reopening our schools with transition and just learning who we are. And I'm very excited. He's had some really great meetings thus far. So this is really an opportunity for us as a board to sit down and have group discussion with our new superintendent and to understand and learn protocols of how we are going to function over the next 3 months as this group. And then obviously we know that we have an election coming very soon, and at that point we will do something similar to this again to continue to learn the strengths, motivations, and how we like to function as a unit. So really just for this introductory discussion, we have a couple different things that we're going to talk about. We're going to go around, and I would love everyone, for Dr. Faust to get to know a little bit about us and vice versa. What is one of the successes that you have either been a part of or something you're just really proud of that has occurred over the past year in New Hanover County Schools? And after that, we are going to let Dr. Faust share with us his perspectives of the past 2 weeks. So what are some of the things that he's learned? What are the things he's seen? And just some initial thoughts of how to move forward. And then he is going to, in your packet, you will see that his 90-day onboarding plan is included, and he's just going to walk us through that, and we can have some discussion around that for this introductory discussion. All right. So who would like to start just with a quick sharing success, something that you are proud of or would like to highlight that that has happened in New Hanover County Schools over the past year that you would like to share with our superintendent?
Well, I'd like to say how proud I am of all the teachers and administrators that are in the trenches. They are working diligently and effectively trying.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, put your mic on, Jeanette. Yeah.
I have to do it for her to
There you
hear.
go.
I'm sorry, I thought I understood to put it on if I wanted to speak to you, but I guess I am speaking to you. So, I'm just saying, Lisa, and everyone who's listening, that we are all very proud of what's going on, reaching out to our children, and the fact that we are continuing to work to make sure that all the children are connected and that they feel welcome even though they are remotely learning, but we are working hard day by day to get them back where they need to be in school.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. All right, someone else, a success of the past year or two that you think is important for Dr. Faust to know about?
I like the process. The process we went through hiring Dr. Faust. That was one of the more interesting things I've ever done. And you're looking at people from all over the United States and trying to find somebody that fits in our little hole here. And I just thought that was a lot of fun.
Great.
And I hope we don't have to do it again for a
Ever
long
again.
time.
Junior Nelson.
Miss Eastep and I were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned the words of a French diplomat when asked what he did during the French Revolution to stand out. He said, "I survived." I think I'm proud of surviving, but I really am proud of a lot of work we've done regarding the Title IX committee. That was something that was kind of important to me when we came on, and Miss Eastep helped us with that, and everybody's really pulled together, and I'm proud of that work because it was something that this county had to do.
Well, I'm proud of the fact that this last 22 months, this whole school district and board has recognized situations that were ignored and denied for many, 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 many years, and that I was actually able to hold fast to the fact that it needed to be transparent operation to bring it to light, and that people were held accountable. Because of that, Dr. Faust is sitting here right now. Also, I'm proud of the fact that I was able to stand up and continue to do it, despite the fact that there was a lot of denial about that kind of situation, and that I was continually bullied by quite a few people for at least 5 months until things started to actually show that they were true. And as a result, we're going to be a much better district for that. And I know from hearing from many, many community members, many, many staff members, that this needs to continue. The pandemic has made it very difficult right now for us to focus on things that we really, that are still there and that we'll continue to be focusing on. And hopefully with the new election, people will come in and continue along those veins, because it's been difficult to bring light to the truth when people have denied it and tried to hide it for so many years, including in the last 22 months.
Thank you. Lisa.
One of the partnerships that has been, for me, really a highlight, and we've talked about it in the EDI committee and in other places, is a partnership that has developed with Voc Rehab, and it's a disability hiring initiative. And I know for a lot of people, it may be not something that touches their daily life, but for those with a disability who are looking for a job, it's an enormous gift to know that you have a pipeline to a real job, and you have a real possibility to a real job with benefits. And I can't underestimate that that initiative. I can't under speak it, really. The work that Julie Varnum and Debbie Trafton and HR have done, and the work that all of the hiring managers and all the schools have done to further that initiative, because it's not just the hiring initiative, but it's the windmills training that the schools have done, the hiring managers have done, to figure out how to support not just individuals or employees with disabilities, but really all employees, employees who need that support, that scaffolding. Again, I can't underestimate that importance, because again, it supports all employees. So that to me is one of those quiet wins, but it's a huge win. We are, one of the largest employers in the county, and to be able to do that work and support that work is a tremendous step in the right direction.
Thank you. And I will round it out. A very important success that I have seen is the work of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. That started organically through teachers at schools, and they recognized that there was a need for a conversation around equity. And when we talk about equity, that is race, it is LGBTQIA, it is disabilities, as Ms. Estep just mentioned, and to recognize that all of our students, regardless of our differences, deserve access to a quality education, and to be taking steps to make sure that we're doing that and recognizing where we haven't in the past, I think is incredibly powerful. The equity work group led into the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, board level committee, which was a really important conversation to start, and there's really great work going on. There's training going on in the district. And the conversation's going. And, I think there was the school system, after the death of George Floyd, actually released a statement against discrimination and about how we have to fight against systemic racism. That was something I don't think that would have happened here a few years ago. And I'm very proud of the group that is working so hard to continue to bring that message to all of our schools and our students. So I'd say that that's been a really big success, and it's exciting to see it continue. So as Dr. Faust has told us, he is an optimist, and I love that. Every time I get to spend time with him or have a conversation with him, he is an optimist and keeps moving forward. And so I thought it was important. There have been a lot of great successes that have come out of New Hanover County Schools over the past 2 years since this board has been in place, and wanted to share a few of those with you. We are excited for many more as we move forward. And so I don't know if you would like to share a success that you had.
Good morning, everyone. So, over the past 8 days, it has been intriguing just to be able to sit and listen to different perspectives. And one of the things that I honestly and earnestly believe is that we have to talk about what is working. And I think you've heard that from me, and I asked that question from you a couple months ago when we first met. Because yes, there will be potholes, but we have to move forward with that. We have to recognize things and items that are there. But we as a district have to be able to understand that this won't always last. This won't, the pothole that is here, it will not always last. And you're doing things that are proactive to fix it, to acknowledge, and then we have to know that going forward, what will it look like? And so one of the things that I consistently talk about is, what shall it look like? What will that look like? What is the perception that you want individuals to recognize when they think of New Hanover County Schools? What does that look like? And so in my 8 days of working with senior staff, meeting with all of the principals this past week, those are some of the things that we're prepping them and understanding that we are in a pandemic. And so that does look a little different when we're educating students, when we're conversing with one another, but this won't last always. So we have to look at where we are now, but we also we cannot drive by looking in the rearview mirror. You'll have an accident. There's a reason why the windshield is larger than the back, because there's such a greater perspective on what we have to do and what we're gonna do versus always looking back. Now, there are some things that we have to be accountable for, and that's why you throw your arm over the seat, you put it in reverse, and you back up and you look, because then they have cameras in cars. But you don't drive looking at a camera from the rear view. You just don't do that. So what I'm going to urge the board to do is to look out of the windshield and drive this district to a place where everyone has an opportunity to be successful. And you cannot do that by putting it in park, sitting in the parking lot, because you go nowhere. You can't do that by arguing amongst one another every time. We have to be respectful of everyone. And so one of the things that I want us to work on, not today, is thinking about board norms. Board norms, and then we've got to look at our vision, and we'll get to the strategic plan, because we've got to think about what is it going to look like in 3 months? What is it going to look like in 6 months? What are your benchmarks? And it cannot be sitting in the parking lot, not going anywhere. So what have I talked about? And of course, that's optimism. And I do believe that, I can talk with anyone, when I say meet with anyone, I don't dwell in the naysayers. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. You have to be, have some realism in it. You cannot be, you cannot be naive, and we're not naive. We're not, but we have to have an outlook on the future. So that's some of the things that I've been conversing with everyone. I'm more than capable of taking on the challenges that are put forth. Every organization, every corporation, when you're looking at a $250 million budget, your corporation. So we have to look at it a little bit bigger. We can do this. We can do this. And so we've got to stop saying that we can't, not that you're saying we can't, but we can. And you have the right person in the driver's seat. And we have I'll say the cheerleaders who are here. And what I ask is that you continue to share the good news. Send the bad news to me. We'll deal with it. But you continue to share the good news. And when there's something that is not going to the liking of the district, let me know. That's what you hired me for. In the conversation, you would not have hired someone who couldn't handle it. I can embrace it. Put your seatbelt on, life jacket, parachute. We'll land it. I told them, we'll get this plane off the ground. It may be upside down when we take off, but we'll get it off the ground, and around, once we get to altitude, we'll flip it over real hard, and you'll feel it's like, oh, what happened? And you'll forget, well, that was hard. But right now, what you're dealing with is nothing unusual for any organization. Every organization has their issue or their ism, but how are you going to deal with it? So I've just been dealing with it throughout these 8 days and conversing with the individuals, stakeholders throughout the community, business, personnel, just having candid conversations, health officials, all of those people. And, you know, one of the things that we have talked about is all the things that are going well in the district. The conversations of the negative, that's not something that we've talked about. That's in-house. Because we have people who are dealing with it, but we have everyone who I've spoken with about your district is telling me about the positives. So what I want the board to do is tell me more about the positives about those things. And in private, as I say, we praise in public, correct in private. And so that's what we need to do. And so that's how we are handling it. I've done a number of interviews, and, you know, we have rocked and rolled and had fun with them. They were apologetic because everyone, I try to have a conversation, so it's not an interview. If you're thinking you're going to interview me, that's not going to happen. It's going to be a conversation, because no one gets to just interview me. Like, you're not going to just ask me a question. Because I'm going to, I believe in making you feel at home and making it feel comfortable, and I'm not going to argue with you, and we're not going to, we're not going to throw mud and wrestle around that's not what we're going to do. We're going to be professional at all ways, all times. So I've just had a good time with individuals. And so we are continuing down that road. And, you know, although it's only been 8 days, it feels like it's been longer.
You're coming in at a very interesting time.
Yes, and so we're doing it all. We're doing it all, and I'm farming out the information when individuals are asking things and I don't know the answer, because I'll be honest with you, after being here, after being here a decade, I still don't know all the answers. So that's why we have experts in every area. And so we converse with them, we get the answers, and then we come back and we give an educated answer to the individuals. But yeah, wow, that was a lot. But I definitely am enjoying myself, and, have felt welcomed here in New Hanover. Of course, North Carolina is just that, it's the Southern hospitality. And so meaning my family and I, have really just had a great 8 days. Busy 8 days, but it's been great. We're looking forward to this coming week because we're all settled, and then we'll be ready to take off. But yes, thank you.
I'm assuming you got to enjoy watching the game the other night, Kansas City, where it was 55
Oh yeah.
degrees.
Oh, I got telephone calls. Yes.
Can I respond? I mean, I know that we're all sharing, but we are elected officials, and the negative was hidden for way too long in this district. We're going to come to you, but if the public comes to us, it is our job to respond and support them. Going to you is part of it, but also trying to listen to all people and share information with the people, not cover things up. That has been happening way too much.
Well, actually, and I have to correct you on that, actually in my contract, it states differently than what you just stated.
What does
But
it
we'll have
say?
a conversation
Well,
about
what does
that.
it say?
We'll get to that.
Well, the important part is that we are the elected officials.
You are,
And
and I
we
would
are the
never
ones
take that away from you.
Okay, and so we are the ones that are responsible ultimately for what goes on in this district.
I guess I would say
Collectively
we
as
are
a
all
majority.
responsible.
Yes, it is. And so, and that is what we need to be responsible for.
And we'll get there.
When we get to the communication protocols, we'll talk about that, what's in Dr. Faust's contract, what's in policy, and all of that, and what his preferences are, because at the end of the day, we made the decision to hire him. And how the superintendent is leading the system is important.
Hey, Stephanie, can you turn on your mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was on.
Sorry.
Yes. No, but I just said we're going to speak about that when we get into communication and just understanding protocols, and that we have hired Dr. Faust to lead our district, and understanding what that looks like from a communication standpoint with the public, and complaints and concerns and questions and whatnot. So we're going to talk about that. All right. Would you like to share your 90-day plan?
Sure. In your, in your packet, you have a superintendent's entry plan, activities, and results. And so we can go over those, because I think it'll be most beneficial for all of us to understand. And also understand that I'm sharing it with you, we'll be sharing it with the senior staff. So at the top it has item number, well actually it starts with objectives, and it says to begin to establish establishment of an effective board superintendent partnership. And because we're a partnership, it's not a monarchy, it's a partnership. So there's an item number, an action sponsor, comments, results, and then the completion. So under the action sponsor, you'll find some names, but when I meet with the senior staff, we will fill in the remainder and then we'll send it out to the board so you'll know exactly where we are. But the first one is to establish regular communication systems with the board in the form of an electronic communications, phone calls, written communication, and meetings, including a calendaring of student academic performance related staff reports during board meetings. So what does that mean? During the board meetings, I'm not sure if you have an opportunity at the end of your agenda that says that what's coming up next for students. So if there's big ticket items for students to see, that you'll see upcoming events. So if board members wanted to participate in those events, you would definitely be able to see them. And we would just go over them at the end of the board meeting and say, these are some upcoming events. And that's literally what that means.
I think we already have that.
Not on the board
Just meetings
agenda,
that are
it's
coming
meetings.
up, but not,
These would be for school, so you have
School-based
meetings, we're not
events.
school-based
Right.
events that
That's great.
would be
Yeah.
great for the board to, if you wanted to, it's not something that you have to attend, but it's like, hey, what's going on,
Well, we've got
Something that we-
45 schools.
absolutely.
So are we going to go over like almost a calendar at the end of each? How is
No.
that
No.
going to be?
No. So let's slow down. When we're thinking big ticket things, so if, let's say for graduation, we'll look at that. If there's graduation, so we would say graduation for X, Laney High School is on this date.
Best foot forward.
Right,
is the
you're
event,
going forward,
right.
so it would not come in January. You would see that in, if graduations are in May, then you'd probably see that in your April. So it'd be upcoming events. And those are high-powered events. So I'm gonna say high-powered, those big events that are coming that you want to possibly go to. I mean, you'll still have your own things, but these are just things that as the board and as board members, you say, well, I didn't know about that. So then you can say that we can put those on there for you. That's all that is. It's not that there'll be several other events, and by no means can we put all 45 schools' activities on there. But what we can do is give you some highlight information that is, out there. So if it's National Honor Society.
We had a calendar we were receiving, which we stopped this last,
So remember, this
With
is what,
communications.
well, I mean, it was few communications.
right,
but it
but
was very
remember, I'm
similar
trying to
that.
organize it for you.
You're
So
trying to
what I'm
organize-
trying to help, I know that you've had some things in the past, but remember, this is how I'm trying to get us to move so it's all in sync and
Oh, okay.
synchronized.
The reason I brought that up because I don't think we have received that in the last couple months, but I'm sure you remember the calendar of events. And that was very useful because I liked looking at all the different schools and seeing things that I might have an opportunity because of my schedule to go and just surprise them, which I've done, instead of just the highlights. So that's still coming out. I haven't even seen it. In fact, I wonder where that has gone to.
I mean, as Dr. Faust continues to
You may not
work-
even know about it.
Yeah, as he works with communications, that is something that they used
Yeah.
to send out. So
Yeah.
that may just something to be discussed with them. But what you're saying here is, for instance, like the Ogden ribbon cutting.
Yes,
That would have been
that
a
would-
high-level event
absolutely.
that would be great if board
Yes.
members could attend.
Yes.
And
Right.
so just highlighting those things on the board.
Absolutely.
Got
So
it.
Well,
these
I
are-
think, can I just interrupt for a second? I think those school level events, that hasn't come out because we haven't had any.
Right.
yes.
So
Oh, well,
there's-
you know what? You're so right. We have had a rough couple months.
But Crystal has been good about keeping us involved.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the
Yeah, that's
events
no problem.
that we
Yeah.
safely could attend.
Yes.
That's another thing is we're in very unusual times, so things are sort of out of sync compared to what we normally were doing previously.
So you're not saying you're inviting us to every, Title I back-to-school event at every school?
No,
You're-
that wouldn't be
this
on your
would-
calendar.
Right.
That's not gonna be on this. These are just those 30,000 foot, like you said, if there's a school opener, ribbon cutting, if, let's say there's a meeting for the commissioners for budget.
Right.
If we were doing that, that would be on this calendar.
I think that
where
would be
you
very
can
helpful.
see all of those things. So it's to help you plan for the next meeting, so when you're at the next meeting, or at that meeting, you can say, oh, well, this is coming up. It's only a reminder.
Who has been sending, because those come out regularly, who has been sending them out previously? Tabitha?
I think it
When we
came
were in
from-
actual, normal schools,
I think it came from communications.
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly did it.
That was really helpful.
She was
Yeah.
good, yeah. I don't want to preempt, but the calendar, if you are going to a particular meeting or somewhere, are you going to talk about that later on?
Yes.
Or is that part of your
Yes, I will.
calendar?
Yes, this will
Okay.
all be,
All right, I
yes.
don't want to get you out of sync there.
yes.
Thank you.
So item 1B is schedule individual meetings with board members for one-to-one time to occur minimally bi-monthly. You know, there's 7 of you who can't necessarily do it every week, but bi-monthly, or if there's something that's urgent, you know, we can always call. We'll take those calls if there's something that is right there, you know, we need to have a discussion about it, we can. And then that's the face-to-face. If you need the one-on-one time before it's bi-monthly. But any other, I mean, we can always call. It's not saying that we can't, but we want to make sure that you do have your opportunity for us to have coffee, talk bi-monthly.
Is that something, would we reach out to Crystal?
Yes.
Because I live and die by my calendar, so I would
Yes.
love to put those types of things on my calendar even 6 months in advance. And
Absolutely.
understanding sometimes things can change, but just,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
if that's the preference for others on the board, you know, to get it on your calendar.
Yes. And so then 1C, and all of these, I'm the owner of these. I put the owner, but of course that'll be, you send it to me, but it'll come from me, but sometimes it's coming from Crystal also. Develop a clear understanding with the board regarding the types and amounts of information needed to help boards make quality governance decisions. So that comes also through policy. That also comes through if you're getting information and you are, if you're getting emails, it's like we need to decide how do we help you find the information that's needed. And so I understand that you are public officials and that they will email you, but if you're getting multiple emails and I'm not included on those, then I don't know what you're telling people. And on a day-to-day, I work with the individuals on a day-to-day.
We
And so
should be
if
including
you
it.
share information, and I don't know what it's about, or you share information and we can't do it, that's the other thing. We're not able to support that. Then it puts us in a bind because then we've got to retract some statements. So one of the things is that, and that's why I say any of those things, we will help you with it. If you're wanting to respond, because I'm not saying not to respond, but if you will help us with it, give it to us, we can give it back to you, and then you can formulate your response.
Well, what you're saying is that you need to be included on information, especially if we don't have information and need to find information. So we should always share these inquiries with you,
Right,
Okay.
right, yes, because anytime that you,
which I was hoping you
Make-
were already doing.
if you make comments out in, I'm not saying comments, but if you're responding in writing somewhere, and, because remember, this is a corporation, and remember, it takes 4 of you to move it, and if one has said it and then all the others are getting information back, it's like, well, what's it? It just helps us move forward in one line, so that we can push this organization, and then I can help lead it.
Right.
So
And I would assume people already were. I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to put your name on everything I've been communicating.
when we-
I always did with Markley.
Okay, when we receive emails, and we've had a rash of them recently, and we note that your name is not on that, then
Yeah.
even though 7 of us may forward it to you, you still want that.
Or
because-
if the board, everyone is on it, if the board, or someone just say FYI, if you're responding, if my name isn't on there, you just may want to say FYI.
Yeah,
You're
you can
included in
forward it.
you're included in the board member's email,
Okay, so yes,
right?
I'm-
So
I've
anything
gotten-
that's coming to board members' email, Dr. Faust is on already.
Unless they send it
And if they do it
individually.
individually, then
And
yes.
sometimes his
Yes.
name is not on there.
Right.
But yes, I understand that he's board and superintendent. So you'd rather get 7 FYIs than nothing.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
So my concern is sometimes I'll read someone, they'll say, only 1 board member responded, or thank you so-and-so for responding. But we don't know what was responded.
Absolutely, yes.
And so, and it certainly may have been helpful. Apparently it was, because they were thanking them.
Right.
But we don't know what was said.
Right.
So how do we do that?
So in that, that's why I'm beckoning. If you send it to me, there are certain things what I can respond back to the community and put everyone on it, and then you know. Or if a board member is doing such, if they'll respond and put me on the email, and then we can make sure, because what we don't want to have is an online meeting, which violates policy. So that helps us because not everyone has to respond. We just need that one response. So again, I guess once the person responds, they CC me on it. If they feel led to respond, then I can get it to the board members. Because like you said, you want to know what
was
were we
said.
thanking for, or what was it that we were, what was the response?
And
I
with
think
some
that's
of your
fair.
ideas, with your idea that we're going to talk about in communication, we
Yes.
may be able to address some of that.
Yes.
So we
Okay.
can keep, we're going to, yes, we're going to talk about some of
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, meet with board members to establish, I think I may have skipped one. 1C, 1D. Meeting with board members to establish board superintendent study sessions retreats for each year. One for July, one for January, focusing on content and format. So I think we will need to have another retreat in January, and then we'll sit down as a whole and decide what is it that we want the session to be about. And so I think we need to consistently have at least, 1 to 2 retreats, and if more needed. But I also believe that we perhaps need to have an individual come in and guide us through the retreat, so that we as a unit have someone who does the retreat for us, and they just officiate it for us.
And Dr. Faust has some really interesting ideas for that from a communication standpoint, from learning about each other, because we are a governance team. We are individuals that were elected, but we are a governance team, and we have to work together. And especially going into what our new board is going to look like, which remains to be seen. In December, it's going to be important that we learn about each other and how to best work together. And so he has some really good suggestions and ideas of how to help us do that as a group.
And so it kind of leads into the one where it says, work with the board to identify a third party to provide regular staff development training for board and superintendent team. And so we'll be looking, and of course, we'll want to talk through that as the weeks come. And of course, we need to probably add that to maybe a November-ish board meeting, so we can talk about who is it, because calendars begin to get full on others. And a lot of people, of course, will be doing it through Zoom. There may be some who will say, well, they'll come and do it in person, or however that works. But I think we probably need to look through that. I honestly
To get
believe
it booked.
it would be advantageous for us to do.
Okay.
Develop a clear understanding of the role, responsibilities of the board, individual board members, superintendent and superintendent staff to establish governance versus management roles. So this one is so what we have to remember is I'm your employee. The staff members report to me. So in order for that to work, if there's something that you need from a staff member, send it to me, and then I'll make sure it gets to the right person, because I evaluate them. I don't know if they've responded back to you, or if they've gotten the information back to you. And if you're still saying, hey, I haven't gotten this, there's nothing, I don't know what was going on. Now, you send it to me and I haven't responded, then it's like, okay, you send it to the board chair, and it's like, I haven't heard back from the superintendent, because there's that protocol. And
Here's
so-
my only concern with that. For example, yesterday, there was some crazy stuff going on social media, and I kept getting calls and texts about this particular site that's why we're getting all these emails, that was, I guess you say, stirring up information that was already out there. I mean, there's nothing new about these emails we're getting. But it was going on and on and on. And one of the schools, one of their their standard emails to their students was being used, and I needed to just find out if it was an accurate email. Instead of calling your office and going through you, I just picked up the phone, called the principal, said, is this part of it? And she said, yes. And I said, good, so I won't have to worry about it.
But I knew nothing about that.
Well, I can go ahead
And we
I
didn't
can-
know anything about it.
Right.
Right.
So I'm going to say I need for you to stop. Don't call the principals because
Right, right.
that's for me. In the guidance, I'm the supervisor of principals. And I don't want people to feel intimidated by anyone when we do that. So yes, you have to call me. You have to follow the protocol and say, yes, you may know exactly who it is, but I'm asking the board to contact me so that then I can contact the right person to get clarity on why that was sent. I can give you a reasonable answer, and then I can put it in an email, and then my communications to the entire board, I can say, this is what
Okay,
happened.
that makes total sense, but on the other hand, there's an awful lot of things. Some of them are just so simple. You want us to call you on absolutely everything, some days, you're gonna be extremely busy chasing little skinny rabbits down
Well,
holes.
some of the things I'm going to ask you to just stay away from social media.
Oh,
I'm
this-
just going to
this-
say,
no, I wasn't-
let me finish. I'm going to say, just take 3 days off.
No, I
Because we
wasn't on
can't chase
social,
everything down.
No.
I wasn't on social media. I'm getting texts and phone calls from teachers, okay, and parents, saying, what does this mean? I wasn't even on it, it was them. And I could have called you then and had you check it out. What I'm saying is, I'm not staying away from my families and my staff members calling, concerned about things going on. I'm more than happy to relay it to you. I said, if you want to go around and chase them around.
So why
But I'm
wouldn't-
not staying off of anything when it comes to the people that have put me in office and expect me to represent them. They call me, I'm not staying away from their phone calls. I'm not staying away from their texts. I'm not staying away from their emails.
It's not-
And that's where I was getting it yesterday.
It's not about you staying away from them. It's about following the protocol of how to
Right.
handle
Well,
them.
I said, that's fine, but he just made the statement, stay away. I'm not, that's contradictory.
Like yesterday, I received a text message about something that happened, and it was a screenshot of maybe the same situation you were
Probably, it
talking
sounded
about.
like it was going
I
crazy.
sent it to him. I said, you may already know about this. This is going on, and this is from the school it was at,
Well, I
and
said,
that was it.
That's fine, that's what I
And
did.
because that is his role.
Right.
To handle it. So I think that
We're
I think,
agreeing, that's
yeah.
not the problem. It was just a statement, stay away. I wasn't even involved, people were contacting me,
Right.
is what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is that you never contacted me.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, I will contact you. You started not even 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying right now at this
And
point. I know you're trying to get organized and everything, so I just did that real fast to make sure I inducted it. But if you're ready for that, I will be starting to do it immediately.
And,
No problem.
and just understand that if you send me 12 emails, you may not get a response
Oh, I
within the hour.
understand that.
You send 35 emails, remember, I also have a job too.
That's
So-
exactly what I was saying.
But what I'm saying to that is, direct the individuals, so you're getting those from teachers, to ask the teacher, have you contacted your principal?
Oh, I always do that.
Because what happens is, I've been a teacher, I've also been a principal. I've been an assistant principal. For someone to go directly to the school board and not go there, we have to redirect them back.
That's exactly what I do. I did not say.
And that policy
these were-
is
these were-
very defined and the process.
That was
So
not
if
what
you
I was
forget,
referring to.
go
I
back
was
to
not,
it.
it was, another thing is.
But
and
when
I-
you stated that the teachers had called you and you called the principal,
I
that's what I was
had,
responding to.
it was several, it's hard to keep track.
And when
It
you're
was more
saying that
than
the
one.
parents is like, have they heard from the principal? That's the first step. I would ask the board members to say, have you spoken with the principal?
These people didn't even know the principal. This was on some public website that was aggravating the
then-
public.
You know, I
Dr. Fowler,
stay away.
I just had one quick question.
I was-
Helping the board make quality governance decisions, the information we need, part of the information that I need or that I've been using, and I don't want to know if you're okay with this, is I do like to go into a school unannounced sometime.
Yes,
And just
definitely.
talk to the principal, talk to the teachers, walk around. Is that fine with you?
That's
I mean,
fine.
I can let you know when I'm going
Yes.
to a school,
You
but
do
I mean,
not have
that's,
to let me know when you're going into a school.
okay.
because I don't let them know when I'm coming to a school. There'll be some, no, but I want to see them of course, when students get back in their authenticity. I don't want a dog and pony show.
No, and you'll
That's
get
not
it
what-
if you
Right, I don't
Oh,
want
yeah,
that. I don't want
absolutely.
people to have to stop what they're doing.
clean the floors.
Yes, no, that's not it.
Polish everything.
Absolutely, no, that's not. I want them to be in their authenticity of their work. And they should be doing excellent work all the time, so it's not anything that you should have to stop and do. I always tell people, if I'm coming to see how you fold your clothes, I'll let you know I'm coming to see how you fold your clothes. I'm not going to see that. I'm going to see instruction. I'm going to see how are you engaging with your staff members. That's what I'm there for. How are you engaging with the community? That can't be rehearsed.
Can I clarify something, because
Yes.
this is important to people out
Yes.
there? So you will respond as rapidly as possible, because that's one of the reasons in the past, that's one of the reasons the public in the Hive are contacting some of us, because so many things have been ignored, and that's why I'm glad you're here. And that's one of the reasons that you're here. So we respond, if we send you something over that is a concern, we do need a timely response, because in the past it's really concerned the public about how the things have been way behind or not at all.
Yes, so we will respond. I definitely do respond to the 400 emails that I've gotten, that I know you've gotten. I can't respond to all 400 about.
No, those are,
So I get it, I understand. I know exactly what they're talking about. But when it's about something, for instance, what you showed me yesterday, I called the deputy. Deputy contacted the principal. Principal sent out a retraction. It was that quick. It was that easy. So what we have to do is, I can get to the people quicker if you let me know, but it'll almost be like you're having to chase or find out who it is, but I can get to them quicker.
And I think the other piece of this too is that processes that weren't in place prior are now. And so from a complaints perspective, we have Ethics 360, and there is a timeline of which things are supposed to be addressed, and we have policy for that now. That is something that wasn't in place before.
well, there were processes in place that weren't being followed. That is
Okay.
why the public has been calling us as opposed.
But we've got to change, to his point, we have to help change
I
that
agree.
narrative. And it is, I trust in Dr. Faust. When I send him something, I believe that he is handling it. And that is his job. That is why he is here. And so, and he is going to give us in our time the report on what happened because of that complaint. And so we have to put trust in our superintendent that he's addressing these issues. And I think that because of the processes that are in place, and we've been in a very unique situation over the past few years that I think we felt that we had to do that.
Had to do.
Be responsive, and people were coming directly to us.
Because they weren't getting any
Right.
response from where
And
they
I
needed
think
to.
too, when we see a consistency of concerns or questions, then that leads to what goes on the agenda for the next board meeting.
Absolutely, that's true.
So either Dr. Faust under his superintendent's report or someone from administration helps to clarify, so that message gets out there
Absolutely.
to everyone, and it's the same message.
Absolutely.
But back to us sending you the information, and you get the person that's best suited to respond,
Yes.
then ensure that the whole board gets the same
Yes.
response.
Yes.
And that's been pretty consistent,
Okay.
but with new people on board, they may not think about, oh, I need to send this to everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
so we'll have that conversation with the senior staff on Monday. But remember, what we're doing is, I'm going to develop a clear, and so it'll be more or less like a protocol that we'll sit down and talk about. The reason why is we have to reverse the roles.
Yes.
You are not the managers, you're the
Mhm.
governance.
Right.
You do governance
With
and
the parking
policies.
attendants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The management comes from me. You tell me in the policy how you want it, and then we put together the practice.
Right.
That's right.
And so that's how you're able to guide the governance. This is what it should look like through the policy. So that's where it's like the governance versus the management role.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be a shift, I think, for some of us.
I don't think necessarily. I did not run to be a manager. We are here for governance. And that was the problem for the last 22 months, is it has been clouded because the governance, the management wasn't doing it. It just didn't seem to be working properly.
So, 1G, establish regularly scheduled meetings with board officers to develop board meeting agendas. So we did that yesterday?
Yep, we are going to get a cadence going. We are going to be in good shape, yes.
And so right now, it's Wednesdays at 4 o'clock.
And based on the policy that we just approved, I believe, last month, the board will be receiving that agenda with 5 days' notice prior. So that will be the established timeline. So we will meet on Wednesdays, and you should be able to access it by Thursday.
And this is the week previous to the board meeting?
Correct.
You said you're going to meet on Wednesdays?
We're for the agenda meeting, agenda review.
Well, wouldn't Monday be more appropriate due to the fact that the public likes to see that agenda earlier?
They could, it's hard because there's so many different things. You want to have it as close to the meeting
Well,
as
it's
possible.
timely, but Monday
Just
just,
gives you 5 days.
But
It's,
you also
But
have
the
to
problem is.
yeah, I said
and can-
Monday's good, yeah.
If I could chime in, the problem is just trying to get the information ready for, senior staff has to get the information ready. So you got to give them some time to get it together.
So Monday would be a better appropriate day to give the senior staff more time to get information for the next board meeting on Tuesday?
No,
So
we're
if you wait
meeting
until
on
Wednesday, that gives us less time for the senior staff. And if they're at schools,
I think she was saying that, more time, Monday morning to have an agenda review, the senior staff's probably not ready to talk about everything
I'm
that
talking
needs to
about the
go on that
Monday
agenda.
previously.
What's that?
I'm talking about the Monday previously, not the Monday previous.
Right,
to
no, I
Tuesday.
understand, but
Right.
it's still Monday.
So that Monday gives them a week and time for them to be able to get stuff together.
well, currently, they're supposed to have their things together by Tuesday prior to the agenda review. So they're actually supposed to have their presentations a week prior to the meeting. So we're giving them time to complete their presentations and things that they will be presenting. We will do agenda review on Wednesday.
And when do you have your meeting with your senior staff?
On Mondays.
On Mondays.
Mondays at
So
9.
that would give a chance, that works better. And then Tuesday, you get
Right.
it ready.
They have that day, and
Because you'd
then,
have so many questions
Absolutely.
on Mondays
Yes.
that you
Right.
want to
Yes.
address and concerns. Okay?
And so what you're saying is that you're going to have the agenda ready for the public on the Monday, the Friday before then? That would be the goal, the Friday before the meeting on Tuesday?
yeah.
And normally it's been Thursdays.
It would be better, the sooner the better.
We, the,
Thursdays
we
would
get
be
it
more
on Thursday.
appropriate.
yes, you'll get it Thursday.
Okay, that would be much more
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah.
Waiting until
But
the last
sometimes
minute is
I
one of the
don't
big
know that
complaints I
everybody
have.
reads it before.
Well, that is one of the big complaints that I have had repeatedly from the public, is the fact that the agenda just doesn't seem to be consistent when it's being placed for the public to review
so-
before the meeting.
We assume that it's going to be on Assembly without anyone having to say it's posted, because that's
Right.
been a reminder, but we should know that.
Right.
Okay.
And I think one of the things, we're establishing new timelines, new protocols as a new leadership structure has come in. And so, we appreciate the public's patience as we are moving into the next chapter with Dr. Faust. So, consistency and transparency are important, and that's what he is working towards. So we'll continue to do that.
So under the objective 2 is to establish an action plan to increase student achievement, performance achievement, and close the achievement gap for various subgroups. Under 2A, review all student academic performance and achievement gap data, disaggregating by ethnicity, gender, and subgroups. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday and Thursday with the principals, and we're doing a minimum of an increase for every subgroup or growth of 10 percentage points. That's every subgroup. That's just the minimum. Others they're gonna hit those higher ones, but we're just looking specifically at setting the goal at a 10% growth amongst all students and subgroups.
That's great.
And so we will.
What growth, how are we going to determine growth, or is that on here?
Growth is measured through end of course testing, end of
Okay.
grade testing.
Uh-huh.
That's where we're looking at for that, because
We need to have a conversation later down the line about what's going on now because of our unique situation.
we still have to grow kids.
Yeah.
We still.
No,
have to-
I'm not
Yeah.
denying that. I'm talking about the realism of what's going on with our population and with our staff under these very unique circumstances. The testing is even bizarre. That's what I'm referring to.
Well, I mean, but if the state says that we have to do X, we're gonna have to, and I mean, I'll have that conversation, but I will, yes, we'll just have that one, we'll have that one at a later time.
Yeah.
Dr. Faust, it's 11 o'clock, and so I know that we haven't gotten to our communication, and we still,
Okay.
strategic planning, we're already 15 minutes over our initial timeline. Would you like to continue, and maybe this is a question for the group and for you, do you want to continue with this 90-day plan, or do we want to review it on our own and respond if we have any questions
You
to
can.
Dr. Faust at another time, so we can talk about communication protocols?
So you can do that, we'll be
Or is there
going through
anything
it.
specific you wanted to highlight before?
I think this is very useful.
Yeah, but I think,
Because he's here for feedback.
I personally think, I mean, because we can discuss this later, I would really like to discuss our communication protocols. Because I feel like as a district, it's, like you said, we're all trying to,
Why can't we do both?
speaking as 7
If
different
we-
people, and I feel like it would be beneficial for everybody.
Why can't we do both? How long is this going to take?
This, because we are going to respect time and be done at 12 o'clock today. And so in order to
Okay.
do that, we only have an hour left. And so to talk about communication, I feel like it may be.
Well, if you could go over this for at least another 15 minutes, I'm finding this very useful and get feedback on these different,
Does anyone else agree? What
Well,
is the
why
will
don't
of
we
the
do the
board?
communication, then come back to this if we have time? How's that?
there you go.
Does that work?
Jeanette, you've got,
And
Okay.
board members that, want to cover this maybe could cover it in their bi-monthly meeting with Dr. Faust. That's also, that might also be a suggestion.
Okay. That's a good idea. All right, so let's go ahead and let's move to the next item on the agenda. So just put this to the side. Thank you, Dr. Faust, for preparing this too.
This is excellent, by the way.
Very
and
informative.
let me, excuse me for just a second. I know that Ms. Eastup's suggestion was trying to be very helpful, but I think it's a good thing that we're sitting all here together and we're all on the same page. If we have questions, we hear the answers. It's sort of like that communication you were talking about. So instead of doing it individually during those bi-monthly meetings, I would like to go ahead at some other, what we don't finish today with this document, maybe do this on Tuesday or some other time that we're going to be having our many meetings these days, so we can complete this process going through with him.
Okay.
And it may be advantageous for me to go ahead and design it, put the things in, and then just send it out to
After
the
you
board.
said, right.
And then,
And then go over it rapidly when we get a chance
Yeah,
to, because I
and
do
then you'll know
really
who
think
the
we need to
owners
be
are.
on the same page.
but, so as far as the weekly discussions, one of the things that I found to be advantageous is communication. And so that you will know what we are doing as senior staff, what I'm doing. There will be a protocol that we will use where I will send you on Fridays. We'll call it Friday Notes, just for sake of time. We'll come up with some catchy name. And in there, you will have access, you'll see my calendar for the week. This isn't in this
It's
one.
not in the
Not in
packet.
the-
No, this is
Okay.
for future planning, how Dr. Faust will be communicating to us.
Thank you.
And so you will get my calendar of all of the events that I've done for the week. In addition, you'll also get senior staff and everything they've worked on for the week. So it'll be itemized out from communications, student services, finance, HR, I'm leaving out someone else. But you'll get and so it'll be broken down through bullets of what we've done, what we've been working on. It'll be, no, it will not be verbatim, word for word, but it will say
Summary.
a summary, an overall, so that you can see some of the things that we're working on and what we're doing, the events that we've gone to, and you'll see my calendar. That's the most important part, that you'll see my calendar and where I am, and a lot of times where communications is, they'll be beside me. Those will come every Friday.
Okay.
Unless there is, some other reason, then it'll come, if it's coming. But the goal is to always get it out by Friday.
Will that be electronic
It'll be
or,
electronic.
okay, all right.
Yes, that'll be electronic. Also with that, there are other opportunities, and you may get other things throughout the week if it's an urgent thing. So you'll get a summary of the week, almost like a week at a glance. But then if there's urgent things, we're gonna give you that. We're not gonna wait till Friday and say, this is what happened. We're going to give that to you as soon as we can wrap it up. or I may give you insight and say, this is what we're working on, this is what has transpired. This group is currently investigating the issue, and we'll get back with you. That may be something that you'll get, just so that you'll know where it is. And again, if there's something else that you need to know, then just email me. And then I'll respond back to everyone.
You mentioned something prior to about the social media interactions and things like that. Is that that's part of the report?
So,
How people are interacting with the system also, which is
Yes.
something we haven't really gotten before, and I think it's a really neat idea.
On what level are
The-
you referring to?
Well,
so we're talking about like the district and the Twitter.
the
and
district pages.
The Twitter page, we'll do the analytics. Because you'll know which hits are, when I say hit, how many
Oh,
hits
yeah, I
there
know.
were. You'll want to know whether we, like if it's Facebook where we're on and we're getting the most hits. So we'll be doing stories and we'll be putting those out there. And so those analytics will be produced for you to say, how many times was this one
Viewed.
retweeted, tweeted, because those are informational stories for us in the district to say that, oh, well, this platform isn't really something that we should be using. And then this is what we should, this is where everyone is. Everyone has gone to this one. And so you'll want to know those things, because in order to be an effective communicator, you have to follow and see where are the, what is the best mean? What's the best motive?
And what are the stories that are of interest to our families?
Absolutely.
That's a really important thing. What are we covering that they really are interested in?
And so that's part of what that will be all in analytics. So when you see analytics, that's what they will be looking.
With keeping in mind things like they can also be skewed intentionally. We've sort of run into through that when we've had our good grief, the survey. I mean, we got to be really aware of the fact that we're about to come up to an election that's being manipulated with data.
Well,
Unfortunately, even in this local,
can we move to the positive
Yes,
of how it will work?
yes.
Because I don't want us, I'm not in it to say everything that won't work or be the, and I appreciate it. I honestly do appreciate it. But what can we do to help?
understand what the community is interested in, definitely.
Right, so that's what
That's
the
no
analytics are
problem.
for.
I'm just
I mean,
saying that to
because
be aware.
again, anytime that we put anything out, anytime you receive something, you know, I'm an English minor, so I know how to write to be persuasive, so it'll be skewed. If anything that you get is gonna be skewed unless it's
Absolutely.
raw data.
Right.
So
Yep.
we know that there'll be things that'll be skewed, but if we're doing a story on students and animal lovers, and it had 1 million hits, we know that the community likes to hear about children and
Puppies.
animals.
Absolutely.
If we do something on, I don't know, cows in a field, and it's like there were only 2 likes, we probably won't do that story or do anything about that. That's what we're talking about with the analytics. We're not going to be putting things out there that are
A waste of time.
or personnel. That's not going to go out there. We're not going to even, those aren't things, we know those are going to come, but what we're talking about is the positive hits in schools and, you know, sometimes if it's highlights from the game, we may get a lot of likes and some like, well, no, I
I'm
don't.
sorry, could you clarify what game? Which team are we talking about?
Who are we cheering about?
We're talking about all the games.
Let's just hope we get a lot of games going.
Everyone.
We got a
You know, we
Patriots guy
could,
here.
you know, we may want to say, you know, I know we have a lot of, you know, the majority of the district is Tar Heel fans. So,
Whoa.
See?
See, this is how you cause trouble.
yes.
They do. They do.
So now we know why we need to get out of here.
Yeah, so we want to
Excuse me,
make,
go pack, go pack.
but see, we don't want to sway it that way, but we will make sure that we're looking
I
at
like
the
the way you put
analytics
that. I want to swear that
to
way.
make sure that, and we are posting and putting things out there that our community wants to hear about.
Yeah.
Again, as I stated, we're doing so many great things, and I'm trying to get our communications department to push out that information because it's not being communicated. I'll say it's not coming from the outside. It's not being put out quickly enough. It's not being put out enough for individuals to see that you're doing great things, and that's what we want people to understand. You're doing great things.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing with the communications plan is it'll come weekly, every department. and you'll get to see it. That is for you to see it, and sometimes it'll the communication side. I'll say, you may not always understand the analytical part of it, but what you'll want to look for are the school safety. You may have a liking in academics, so you'll find out what are we doing in academics. You may want to see, what is the state saying about finance? And so those are things that'll be in there where, if Mary Hazel has put things, we met with the finance department, we decided X, Y, Z, just little tidbits, that's all that's in there. And then if you have lingering questions, then you can say, hey, can you elaborate? I didn't understand, what does that mean for us as a district?
And if we do that in the vein of keeping us together as a governance team, would you like us to respond to the whole board, to you and everyone on the board that, hey, I'd like clarification on this?
You wouldn't have to. You could respond to me, and
Okay.
then I can give it to the whole board.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to seem that every time someone responds to me that you have to send all 7. If it's an answer to a question that only you have, like, I didn't understand the analytics on this.
Right.
Then I can say, oh, this is what this meant. But if it's a question on federal funding, then what I would assume is that all 7 of you needed more instruction on the federal funding, how that's going to impact our school. And so I would send that back to all 7 of everyone. That way I don't want individuals, and I say individual staffers, to get in the way of saying I only respond to Ms. Nichols. And then someone, I'm just saying, not that they said that, and they don't respond to Ms. Frydenberg. And he's like, well, I didn't know that. How is it? So I can't get this person to respond to me, but you can get them to. I don't want the staffers to be in the middle of that. So if you respond to me, send it to me, then I'm going to send it to everyone. And that just makes a team, because we're here at the retreat. On the day-to-day basis, we're the ones who are in communication with, you're responsible collectively for the entire district. I'm responsible for making sure that the policies that you put forth are carried out. And so we want to make sure, and that leads to what you were saying, that governance of when you're out and talking about, we can help you with that. And that's all we want to do. So you'll get it in the communications, and sometimes it will be talking points for you to pull out. That's literally what those communication points are.
That is a great segue to talking about media. Dr. Faust and I have had some good conversations about media and how he coaches his boards in regards to media interactions. So would you be willing to share some of that, please?
So I've spoken with Ann Gibson and her team, and she's going to be bringing you in groups of 2 or 3 to do some media training for you, so that it'll help you when, let's say, you're being interviewed by the media, because that's important. That's really important for you, how to get the information and then give a statement with it. Because I know there will be times that you're put on the spot. We all are. But how do we make sure that what we are speaking about is conveyed in the way that you want it to come out? Because I know you know that the media will, and that's our job, to ask you those pointed questions and to do it. But how do you get it out so the community knows exactly what you were trying to say when you were saying it? So our communications department is developing a training for you to help you. Now, you can go to the training, you don't have to use the training, but I promise you it will be beneficial. The reason why I feel most comfortable in the media is because I've had the media training. I understand, and then I have bullet points. And so that, once you have that knowledge, then you can talk about it. We don't want to shape your, we're not going to put in your mouth what you say, we just want you to have the facts. So it makes you a better spokesperson, and you can say, yep, I stated this, I stated this, I stated that. Those were all factual information. And then the media, because that's all they're wanting the facts, but if they can throw you off, then, just anything, they will. Not that they do it on purpose. We all love the media.
It's their job. They're trying to get facts, and in this district, it's been very difficult for years, so you can't blame their attitude.
And so, but the goal is to make sure that we give them the positive facts about what we're doing. And again, we praise in public and correct in private. And so that's what we do. And so that's how she's building the training. And she should be contacting you pretty soon to see if she can get on your schedule where you can come in and they can do some training. And, you know, we do have a TV station back here, and I'm not sure how many of you have ever done
I'm
anything.
about to go on, I've
That's
been on it
nice.
several times.
I don't know how many of you have gone back there and, you know, we have the teleprompter, or if you are being interviewed, because you have the table, we have the desk back there. And I think that would be important too for individuals. We can address things in our news station. But I think the best part would be getting trained so that we know exactly to get the feel. That's all it is getting the feel. And she can either help you with a response, or we can send you the data, and then you can create your own response. But the goal is, we want to make sure that when you are out in front of individuals, you've got the support that's needed from the school district in order to make sure that what you said is credible. That's it.
So previously, we have a lot of media outlets that reach out to individual board members.
Yes.
Is that the process that you would like to see, or is there another way that you would like that handled?
I would like for you to funnel that through Ms. Gibson's office.
Okay.
And to schedule an appointment with, if you want to choose, so she can go and she can ask the media, what are the questions that you're going to be asking?
Okay,
So-
excuse me, the fax is one thing, keep on going, but I want to hear, go ahead and complete what you're saying.
What are you saying, facts are one thing?
She's going to supply us with facts, is that correct? Ms. Gibson, what if you're already very fluent with the facts?
How would you know?
Some of us here are quite aware of facts. You don't, it depends on the question.
So what I would like for you to do is that any media response, if you just funnel it through our communications team, and they can support you and you get to choose whether, I can't say, I think that would be a board thing, where you would say how the board wants to, if they are wanting to go in front of the camera or not. I can't tell you, but what I would say as a district, as a corporation, our goal isn't to make the district look bad. That is not your goal. As long as it's legal and ethical, that's what we want to make sure. We have to have a communication protocol that everyone can align to. But what communications does is, you know, that's what they're here for. They can contact them, find out, what are the questions? They can find out for them what's the angle that they're taking. They can also tell them that's not a story. And I've seen that done in several districts where we've worked, and it's building a platform, because we want to work with the media. We want to be able to supply you with the talking points. But what we don't want you to do is get out there on your own and say something that then we got to go back and write a statement to either say that yay or nay, or this is what that actually meant. All we're saying is we're wanting to get our facts together before we talk to anyone. I do it. Before I go on that camera, you best believe that communications has vetted what's going to be asked of me, and then I have the information, because the last thing I would want to do as your superintendent is get out there and say something that's going to cause an uproar. That's not what we are wanting to do. And so use communications. That's the plan that we want to put together for you to use it. Again, these are individuals who are experts in this area. And if you need a statement that's written, she can write a statement for you. And then you can read the statement. It's like, well, I would like to add this. And then you can go back and forth on the wording of it. But you're not in this by yourself, is all I'm saying. And so if you are wanting that support, we have it for you.
So to paraphrase, it really sounds like you're talking about not being, not switching meanings, changing words. It's just making sure that when we speak clearly and accurately.
Yes.
so that people understand what's happening in the district. So maybe we don't have 6,000 emails about, certain things, so there is less confusion.
Yes, yes.
Makes perfect sense.
And being careful not to separate as a board member and a citizen, because
Right.
sometimes it comes out, well, this is what they're telling me, but as an individual, one board member, I think, and that way we've created a divide here
Yes.
that we don't need.
Yes.
Well, and there is a difference between the corporate board and an individual. And that needs to be stated clearly if somebody's giving their opinion that's not related to the board's opinion. And that's something that's a given, or should be. And that's,
But if,
But I
but
think.
if you're responding from your board email, it's almost always assumed that you're responding with your board voice.
well,
I think
I'm
that's
not
very
referring to
difficult.
that.
That's difficult for the public to understand otherwise. And
I'm not,
I think
I'm
that
not
that's
sure
we're
what you're
saying here.
referring to, because I've never done that, I don't think. I don't think anybody in here has responded from a board email to a media source. Have we? I don't think so.
For interview requests, you mean?
I'm not sure. Can't
All right.
remember any of us ever doing that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Faust, for clarifying that, and I look forward to, and I'm sure everybody else does too, working with Ann and her team to make us
Yes.
more media savvy. All right, so the next item for communication would be board to superintendent, and we've sort of started this conversation when concerns are coming to us, complaints, questions, and so this is an open dialogue. You share what would be optimal for you as the superintendent. We can discuss
Yes.
what our thoughts are,
Yes.
and then Dr. Faust is also going to share. He implemented a virtual streamlining option in another district that I think is interesting, that could really, I think, help us. So he will talk a little bit about that too.
So, of course, what would help me with, of course, the communicating ideas, whenever you have a question, you have my cell phone number. You can text, you can call, you can email. Most of the time, I'll tell you, in this day and age, because we're so busy, we're in meetings, if you text, that's the best way. A call, I'll see it, sometimes I'm sitting in a meeting, and I'll say in my head, I'm gonna call them as soon as this is over. And then what happens is I walk into another meeting, and then it's like, oh, shoot, I didn't call. And so, but if you text me, I can respond to tell you when can call or who, what's going on. I can get a quick glimpse. I can step out. Or if it's urgent, you say, I need to talk with you, then I can step out of the meeting. And then you can say, I sent you an email. Those are just things that I think you can send those to me. And I'm very much, usually I have my cell phone either in my jacket, on my lap, somewhere, and I will look down at it and I'll see that it's you. I try not to respond during meetings. I try to have that individualized attention with individuals, or sometimes from my office, my phone is on my desk. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you. My phone may be on my desk and I'm at that table. So if you do the text, that's typically the quickest way, but I do respond to the board members, and you can just let me know. Again, like I said, send you an email, or call me, those types of things, and we will very much return those. And of course, you're communicating your ideas. Those are your questions, concerns. You send them to me. I don't have a stopping point, or things where I say, don't ask. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you we're working on it. Or I'll tell you, I don't know. But I'll find out. That's the.
What's the role of Ms. Bowie as far as, because I passed some information on to her the other day to give to you, or she said she was going to give it to you. Is that sufficient?
Well, you have to understand,
If you're busy at the time, I'm just saying.
Well, what I'm saying, send it to me, and you can text. Right now, Crystal's doing 2 jobs.
Right.
See, that's why I'm asking.
She's doing well at it, but I don't want. And you can send those. You can see if it's an email. You can CC.
Oh, it
her
was
on
in person. It was.
You can get those. She will get them to me. But
Okay.
if you want us both on it, but all I'm saying is that you have to understand, she's also doing board minutes, she's doing board updates, she's responding.
She's doing a great job.
Yes,
I mean, seriously.
Yes,
She's here right now.
I checked on her yesterday, I was like, how are you doing?
TV
That was my
expert.
question this morning.
You know, and when is Miss Adams coming back? I mean, just so we'll know. Do you know?
Well, she's
I
still
guess-
on family medical leave.
Because
and-
I'm just thinking of.
and so,
Yeah.
whatever's in the family medical leave,
Okay.
for paperwork, yeah. But anytime, you can, and again, like if you want something, you can definitely CC Crystal, or you can ask her, you can text her too. We both work side by side. She knows exactly where I am. Only she knows where to find, she'll come get me from a meeting. Yeah, it's almost like I have a tracking device on me. She knows where I am. So again, she can, she can help. If I'm not responding, she'll tell you, he's in a meeting. He's meeting with this person. So again, just throw it up there. It'll stick. We'll get that response. I don't want you to think that, I've got to dot this I, I've got to cross this T in order, because I am not one who is untouchable. I am very much touchable, and I love to have a conversation, debate points.
How do you define an urgent need? What is an urgent, because all of us have different circles of.
That's a good question.
And we get phone calls, my son's in school, so I have PTA mom friends, I live in a neighborhood, so we're all getting access to different phone calls, emails for people that maybe know us individually. What is considered an urgent need that we need to reach out and say, Dr. Faust, can you handle this?
Right, so of course, urgent is always going to be safety. There's a safety issue. If there is, I go back to, safety is always going to be the top urgent. If it's someone who is saying that, I've gotten a call from a teacher or a parent, and the teacher didn't teach this correctly, the parent's upset. I'm going to say direct that back to the principal, and let us find out. I don't know, it's hard for me to define urgent other than, of course, if there's a gas leak. If you're smelling smoke in a building, life, death situations, that's what I call, and and I know I'm missing something when I
I
say
think it's one of
urgent.
those things, you kind of know it when you see it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. If you know it's going to impact the
Like
whole
if there,
system.
yeah, if
Absolutely,
there's something about to
absolutely.
go out.
Yes, and we, yes, or it's everything is just compounded, it's breaking, the levee is getting ready to break right now. Those are urgent issues, but, that would also, I would think, also contacting you too, and saying, hey, we need to, because I think in some of those lenses, you can also help with that and help devise a plan of, okay, we need to definitely, because I would not, if it's safety on that issue, and I can't, my phone isn't where it needs to be, I definitely don't want you to say, well, he didn't contact, he didn't call back. But I think we'll, I don't know, it's like that, what you were just saying, we will,
Know it when you see it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and it's better to ever communicate in those circumstances.
Right,
Yeah, in
yes,
fact,
you
you
wanna
would be
get-
if you're panicked, like
Right,
the building's
exactly,
burning
you're gonna be calling
down.
multiple
You call
people.
but first you call
Yes.
fire department.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Well, 911 first. Can you share the virtual, the streamlining options
Yes.
that you?
So what, I've been speaking with our technology department. There's a process that I've used in the past is called board referrals. So when you're getting an issue and a concern, there is it's like a program that they build here, and we're working on how to build it, and so that takes some programming, and you'll have access to it, and then you go in and you put the issue in there, and then it gives us the opportunity to then you put it in, it'll go, and I'll just say, let's say for instance, it'll go to Crystal, or there's an actual box for it. And she will then read what it is, and then she will filter it to the right senior staff member. And that person will then get it, and then they will do the investigation, put it back in there, send it back, and then everyone gets a blinker, or I say blinker, a signal that there's something in that bin,
That's great.
and then everyone will know what the issue was, how
Wow.
long it took to solve it, what was the question, what was the end result, and everything is resolved.
So essentially, it's an ethics 360 for board complaints,
Yes.
which, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So often we had, situations, people email us, and we would forward it to the superintendent, and then you would just ask weeks later, oh, yeah, we got it.
That was
Took care of
handled.
it."
Right.
And you're like, well, okay. And that was where it sort of died.
Right.
So if we could come up with that system of cataloging the complaints that we receive, that we pass on to you, that you go down to senior staff and get the answers, that would be transformative.
And it's-
Well, instead of contacting you directly, doing it on that format, so that's more of a follow-up and more of a clearinghouse. But
Yes.
it's also, is it open to visuals for all of us to be able to see what the
It's
other
for-
board members
Only for the
also-
board member, yes, so every time a board
That's a good
member
idea, so that we can all see who's
submits
talking.
there, it'll catalog it. And then all you do is click on it, and like you may not have known, it's like, oh, I didn't see that one, bus issue. You may click on it and it's like, oh, okay. That's also
That's actually a very good
just
idea.
information for you to know, because again, it's for everyone. And then it also say, well, they're just, we'll talk later about some of the things that go in and what you'll see, or you actually see some of the things, but it's just a way for all members to see it, and then to say, it'll even say contacted, whomever, because what you would do is you're gonna have to put, if it's an email that was sent to you, you just upload the email in there, and then we read the email and then respond. We may call the person, but we'll put back in there called individual, schedule meeting with the individual, resolved. Because
Great.
there'll be a button to say unresolved, resolved.
Great.
Fantastic.
But we have to build it.
Right.
So in the meantime, we have to do the manual and,
That's a great way, because we can get resolutions, we can see a timeline, we can see who's received what,
On the record.
where it came
Yep.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, and technology makes that very possible.
yes.
All right, so any other questions about communication and how we are communicating as a board to Dr. Faust and vice versa?
When we do
Discussion.
get media inquiries, so, I mean, are you going to notify media outlets that there's going to be this change in protocol? Do you want us to say,
Well,
look, just email
They
and?
just- I would say that they won't, so they'll say, we can still contact you because you're a public official.
correct.
So what you do is then you just reach out to Ann.
Okay.
Ann Gibson, and of course include me on it. And then she will set up a time, or if you want to come in and meet and say, hey, can you do this interview with me? What you don't see a lot of times when we're meeting, I'm not in that room by myself. I don't do interviews by myself. They're on the other side. And a lot of times, I mean, I've seen, well, here, when pandemic first, I had individuals on both sides, and Brandon and Ann are always with me, so they're feeding information to me if there's something that's going, so you learn that strategy, because
We're not spokespersons for the board.
no, you're not.
No, that, and unless there's circumstances where, say, the chair, who's I think is the one that should be giving any kind of public
And that's
statement
policy.
to the media, if media is calling us about other items,
We just
we're
refer
not
them to-
spokespeople, and so, but if we have our rights as, as individual citizens to give our,
But you
views.
wouldn't be asked if you weren't on the board.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can talk for the board. You can't give,
Yeah.
we've got to agree together. None of us individually can speak for the whole board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I have never said that I could. Some people have, but I haven't.
Well, see, there'll be times where there may be a vote, and they may say, well, why did you vote against? And they're not gonna ask all the, so if it's I'll say,
Right, exactly.
so they may come.
Yeah, that's
but you
individual
definitely-
questions, yeah.
You definitely want to just be prepared, that's all.
And, yeah, well, if you're going to vote against something, you should be prepared as to why it was you voted against it. So you should be able to answer that question without any prompting from an outside source.
I think something I'd like all of us to do is when we're asked about some of the things that happened in the past, I mean, let it, look what we're doing, fix it.
Hey, Bill, can you turn on your mic, please?
Yeah.
I was just saying that people ask us questions about some of the things that have happened in the past, and they have. But I asked them, I said, do you know all the things that we've done to correct these problems? We've got a new superintendent, HR department, assistant superintendent. We put in Ethics 360. We put in the programs where they talk to the kids, tell them what's acceptable, what's not. I mean, we're flushing it out. I think we're doing great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to stay on that more so than talking about out the back window.
But we're, we also have some of the highest percentages of board-certified teachers, national board-certified teachers. I think that's kind of what you're talking about with, I don't know, I'm sure you researched the hell out of us before you came here. And you probably couldn't find anything positive. And
That's not true.
there's like 99% things that were, it's just so positive, so many great stories. So we do have to make sure that people know that this is it's not a good school district, it's a great school district. And
There is a
it's on its
ton
way
of-
to being
Number
national,
5.
exceptional school district.
There is a ton of good stuff out there and has been for years, so I would not make the statement there's nothing good out there.
No,
about
no,
this.
I
I'm
just-
sure you wouldn't have come if you saw nothing.
I
wrong.
meant the media.
We had a period there where the media was not looking at the positives, but I
Well, there
think,
was a good reason for all of that.
But we don't want to talk about it.
no.
That's
no,
obviously
because it's- yeah.
what you're saying.
Hey, Dr. Faust, do you have any meetings, just speaking about communication, do you have any meetings upcoming with various members of the community that you would like to talk about? I just would like to know, just sharing, I know that you've had several, and I appreciate the outreach that's going on, and I know that Ms. Owens has been a part of those, but could you just talk briefly about maybe who you've met with and who you've got on your calendar right now?
Sure, let's go into my calendar now. Let's go back. Let's see, let's do last week.
And we're going to have access to your calendar after the fact, correct? I'm
Really
sure it's
good.
developing constantly.
Yes. Okay, it's loaded. So, for instance, like on Thursday, I had an interview with John Evans, and you may have seen that one.
Yeah,
that's
it's already
there.
out.
We had a great conversation. Had a great conversation with
Jim Morton.
Jim Morton, and also, and I think we have some great things that we need to do some more clarification. So he and I have agreed to meet once a month,
Okay, who,
Great.
Jim,
That's
you're
great.
talking about from Cape Fear?
and we let's see.
Met with the health department.
Yes, had good
Right now,
conversation yesterday with the health department, the health
Wow.
director and assistant director. Great. That was, again, those are great conversations, and just getting on their calendar, we'll have more discussions with them.
Philip Sharp, is that who you talked to?
Yes, yes,
Great guy.
yes, great.
Did you
And then-
do your LDL readings?
And then you did a Zoom call with the New Hanover County NCAE
Yes.
teacher representatives.
Yes, which was really a good meeting. I look forward to meeting with that group. They're live. I love
Well,
it.
they care
I love
about, they care about our
They,
staff.
they are, Dallas and Amanda were really just great people to talk to.
They
And
are.
so had a good conversation with them, and I look forward to having more with them. I've got to meet with,
Teachers Alliance.
yes,
this
teacher.
week.
My calendar, because it's the way it is, it's like, there's so much on it, it's like it's all squished
Is
together.
it
so I'm
meeting?
having
Is
to-
it, what, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get through, but it's just been, last week was action-packed, and those meetings were
You're going to be
Yeah,
happy.
You've done a
really,
lot.
really just
Yeah.
good, yes. And, some of the things that are coming up, we have a radio meeting, a radio interview. We're going to be talking about, not on the radio interview, but for instance, like Title I. We're going to be talking about Title I. We are going to be some Title IX meetings, and can't wait to have those. I'm going to be doing something with NHCS TV up front with the superintendent. I'm going to be doing an employee message, also a WWAY
And I believe the county commissioners have invited you to the next
That's
meeting.
on the 21st?
Yep.
Yes. I have a radio interview coming up on Friday. And we're going to do a FEMA event on Thursday from
Okay.
8 to 12.
This is what Ms. Esup just asked you to relay all that information?
She was saying some of the things that I have done. So, yes, and then, yes, we have been invited to talk with the county commissioners, so that, I'm interested in, having that continued great relationship with them, as they also, I always tell everyone, everything goes through the schools. Everything goes through the schools, so every teacher, everyone here had to go through some type of schooling, and so we want to continue with having great relationships with them.
Great, a lot of great things coming. All right, on that note, we are coming to the end of our day here. It is 11:38, so I have promised we would get out at 12. So the last agenda item was the strategic plan introduction. So as you all know, the strategic plan is expiring.
Has expired.
Well, 20, yeah,
Might
20
as well be expired come December.
2020. And so this will be something that the next board is going to be very integral in creating. And so we wanted to just give everybody a copy if you haven't had a chance to review it in a while.
It's online.
Yes, it is
It's
online.
very easily accessible.
And so everybody's got the copy of that. And we've had some conversations about the process of how to create the next. And so we want to talk a little bit about that and just some of your thoughts on as we move forward with the 2021 through 2025 strategic plan. So Dr. Faust, if you could just share your thoughts on the creation of a strategic plan, and then we can open for discussion.
So some of the things I think we need to go through and actually just get some insight on it from board members, from you.
Are you
So,
talking about current board members right now?
yes, current board members, because, and the reason why I say that is that the district still has 3 months we have to survive in. So I want you to just take a look and see what are some questions that you have about, not now, you don't do those now, but if you will put stickies so that we can come back and talk a little bit about this in the direction that you, that we've come from, or where we're going, or if it didn't work, that may not be something that, from your insight, we need to go down that road again. So what I want you to do at some point, and we'll put it on the agenda to talk more about the strategic plan, is one, as a board, going through this plan and, like I said, just making comments. And then the other part is having, doing an audit on the strategic plan. We've got to audit this to see, what did we do?
Did we do it?
Right, did we do it or did we not do it? You had 4 years, and what were the results?
Well, wouldn't that be a very wise use of the next 3 months, since at this point, we're going to have 3 new board members, and whatever strategic, and we've got the pandemic, which is something that, there's a lot of things that we're going to be looking for a future strategic plan after we understand how effective this one was not and how much we need to carry forward. But the audit's probably the most important part, to start with that.
Well, to get your insight is probably some of them, I'll say, some of the more important things, because you'll know what are your questions. We can do the audit. I will have them do an audit, and they'll be part of our thing where we're auditing and
I'd like to
to
see
bring
the audit.
the information back to you.
Good.
But we're still held to 2020. This, you just can't push it by the wayside.
Oh, no, it's not being pushed by the wayside.
So we still have to work through December 31st. Because this is voted in, so we want to make sure that what is in here, we're still either finding the information, accelerating the information, or saying, this.
Well, I read that quite a few times. I read it last year when I first came on board. I just refreshed myself a little while ago because I knew that was one of the topics. I would really like to see the audit, because I just want to see what has been done district-wide as far as adherence to the plan. We've got our individual opinions. We both come in at different times. I think Jeanette was probably there at the inception of the plan, maybe
Oh,
even.
absolutely, and the one before that,
Lisa,
and the one
yeah.
before that.
So
and the one
that's
before
why,
that.
so that's why I would like to see the audit, so we can then mash up, since we need to be going forward. And we do have 3 months, but in that 3 months, that's how much time it'll take to go ahead and get the audit and to go through it. each one individually and talk about it at the end.
And you may already have in mind, Dr. Faust, the approach of moving forward with a new plan.
That's what
But
we
I
need
think
to look
that's
at.
important to know sort of a outline of how are we going to do it as a family group of,
Yep.
or are we going to farm it out? And
Oh.
that did not work with this. I'm sorry.
And that's the kind of information you're great at being able to provide us with, because you have been through this process before. And while you're, yeah, thank you. Was this, I guess you called it farmed out, was this particular document farmed out?
It was.
Well, I
and
think to Jeanette's point, sorry, I think to Jeanette's point, I think the way that we approached it last time, I think we found was not that satisfactory.
Okay.
But I would like I talked to Dr. Faust a bit and Ms. Adams about it, and I like what he said that he did in his former district. So if he could speak to that, and it does take some time, but it involves the community, and I think that's
And
important.
community's absolutely, the community needs to be involved in
So
this.
what we did, and actually in 2 districts, is we had a company come in and they held community events for us where they went out and found out what is it that the community was wanting. And then they did a presentation to the board and helped us align all of our themes, all of our goals, and trained our folks on how to present and get the information. So we had what's called executive owners and owners. So each theme, and I'm trying to find where your themes are. So let's say you have objectives.
We have goals and
So
objectives.
under your objective, and we only had 5 objectives, and so then the board decides how many objectives and what are those objectives. You decide on the wording of the objectives. So for instance, they would help us get a theme. So they help us write it, and then they present it to you, and then during a board meeting, you go through and it's like, well, I don't think that meets the needs of, so then we go back to the table and we correct it, and then we present it again to the board. What the goal for them to do is almost like to moderate it for us, but we're creating the strategic plan, something that we can live with, something that we can track, and so then there's this color coding, so it's red, yellow, green. And so there's a presentation monthly on a theme or so to the board. And it just keeps filtering through, and then you'll see, okay, it turns green. So you're auditing as you're doing. So it's like this theme of continue to outperform both regional and comparable districts within the state on state assessments, that's accountability measures. So what would have happened is there would have been data for benchmarks that would be brought to the board. You would see data. In every board meeting, there would be something about academics and data, and you'd be able to see it. Then once let's say at the end of the year, you'd see where your ranking is amongst the state, and then you would determine, hey, are we outperforming, and how are we outperforming, and does that meet the goal? If you would tell us does that go to yellow, does it stay in yellow, or does it stay in green? And then you continue to, as the board, you're continuing to tell us, well, we're not there yet, so that's still a yellow. And you'll see it, and the colors will change as you're meeting this. So the audit, as I said, I'm not sure how you were auditing this, and was there a presentation at your board meetings so that there was a conversation? This has to be a part of your board meeting. And so then you move to sometimes, well, I won't say sometimes, all of the times, those themes are running concurrent. So it may be something from student support. We're doing something with social emotional learning. So that'll be running concurrently with student academics.
It needs to be a living document
It
that
is.
we
I was
continue, right?
It's a living plan.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Which is not,
Ours has never
how
been.
this was not utilized
Right.
And
that
so
way.
you're focusing, and it shows
Right.
you where your focus are. And so again, those are creating talking points for you. Because you're learning, even though you're having a board meeting, but we have to infuse the
Our
strategic
vision.
plan. Yes, your vision. And so those are things that we do, but it's not a company does not come in and write it for you. They guide you through it.
And what, now you're talking, is there some way you can provide alternative ways of creating this document besides having a company, because that's going to cost money.
A third party.
And they're from the outside, and even though they are experts at asking questions and looking for things, and the community is very important. There's probably a variety of ways of getting this information, not necessarily utilizing a company, considering the staff that we have here, say, on the leadership team, and there are various branches, because I would think we need to, considering our challenges with finances right now due to the fact we don't know what's coming down because of COVID. I mean, this is just sad. I'm so scared for our teachers and their families and just the community. And I know that we're already talking about possibly losing people across the state because of the circumstances. So spending extra money right now for something like this, while it's very important, we could maybe utilize what we have if you could come up with what methods of doing it. You can also look at that way, but could you come up with alternative methods of possibly having this created?
So the question would be, do we have individuals who know how to do it in the district, who can, when I say that, who know how to write themes, who know how to do it? I don't know.
That's
I
why,
don't
could you
know.
search on that? Could you research that, please?
Let's just find out how much it costs.
And we have UNCW too, and their School of Education is amazing.
But
And
are they
ha-
skilled with, so it wouldn't come from the School of Education, this is usually from research and data?
Well, but they have research and data aspects too of their School of Education, that's part of it. What I'm saying is, could we try to utilize the
Our
resources we
resources.
have here locally before we start looking on outside agencies coming in? And that could possibly be something that UNCW could actually benefit from, because that's part of, I think they've got PhD programs now. So that's part of something that possibly some of their professors could use as a positive for the university and for us.
There are graduate programs that work with local businesses.
Yep.
That the students, it's
It's
free.
a win-win.
It's free consultation, so I mean, it's a
That'd be
good
great.
point.
And
Yeah.
maybe someone is trying to write a dissertation on strategic planning.
Perfect.
Let's
find out.
Young, forward-thinking minds in education, you can't
So
do
we can-
better than that.
So we
It's
need a
trying to-
UNCW meeting, maybe, figure out who to talk to for that. Because that's a good option. We've got some really great resources right here, so.
So, I mean, we're blessed, people know we're blessed, there are positives about this district and have been for decades.
Yep.
Negatives but positives, just like life.
So as an action item, not action item, but for the board members, for us to review our strategic plan and just start putting some thoughts together, and is that something that we would look at maybe to discuss during the November meeting, or our interim in October?
Maybe
I would say
interim in October.
interim
give
in
time.
October.
Interim
They give
October?
time, yeah,
Come with ideas.
Okay.
because there's a lot that we're going to have to be discussing on other areas, oh my goodness.
Okay, great.
Am I correct, Crystal, in that you did the graphics for this?
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
They've got even
Wow.
better technology now.
So make sure she's on the payroll.
Wow.
Jeanette, do you remember, wasn't it Tom Barth that facilitated in the past?
No, I,
Do you remember?
not at this moment. I
Okay.
don't think about it.
Crystal, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I laid it out, based on the committee's direction, and then we worked with our training department
Nice.
to finalize everything and printed and shared and uploaded to the website. So it was all done as Ms. Nichols shared in-house.
In-house, got it. Thank you. All right, we have about 10 minutes left, and so if we wanted to go back and talk a little bit more about the Dr. Faust entry plan with our final time here, and appreciate that we've been moving along. Quality discussion, so thank you, everyone. All right, so I believe we were in the twos.
Okay.
I think 2B,
To be,
I think is where we
so,
stopped.
meet with school principals and teachers to determine their perception of the quality and quick assess to individual student achievement data and the level of support offered by the central office staff. So we'll create a plan. We shared with principals on yesterday that we'd be meeting with them individually. And I've already scheduled school visits. This, of course, will be through our accountability and schools office, where we will be looking at the quality of our students and setting goals for each school, setting goals for each subgroup, and providing that support surrounded. I'm not a big fan of doing, well, there are some things where we have to do professional development where it's all, everyone, the entire district has the same type of professional development, but then there are opportunities where there are schools that look alike, that there's professional development that's suited for them, because that's a better way. And so that's where that comes in, to offer that quality instruction for a particular group of schools or a group of subgroups. And it may be all schools get it, but it's only pertaining to a specific subgroup.
Right, it's more individually oriented because each school, well, most schools are different, some are more similar than others. That, I think there's a saying about that. But some of them are really so different from other schools. I mean, we've got a wide variety. We've got 45 schools.
One of the things we've talked about in the past is the, you know, all the kids that are going to Hoggard, Lane, Ashley, and
New Hanover.
aren't going to college. They need to be at Cape Fear Community College. And we need to figure out how to steer them there. Because there's, I mean, you know, they can go for a year or two, pick up a trade and make
Well, that's
$60,000, $70,000 a year.
That question's guidance counselor.
That's my point. I don't think that's getting done with all the kids. And on the day where they get awards day, there's about 3 kids in there that get all the awards. And the rest of them are just sitting there like, God, I wish I was somewhere else.
Right.
Well, the guidance counselors are working themselves to death. I mean, if anything, that's just the reality of the world we live in right now. They can't spend the time, they would love to be able to spend time doing things like that.
So the kids fall through the cracks.
So
It's not
what
the
we have to
guidance
do is make
counselor's
sure
fault.
that all kids are in a pathway.
There you
Yes,
go.
sir.
And so
Yes.
then when they're in a pathway,
Starts way
then
back.
they're able to, our guidance counselors in our college and career, what do they call it, the college and career?
Readiness.
Readiness, they're there to help guide them through it. And I'd spoken with Dr. Smith and actually asking how are we aligned and how do we publish?
Because they've probably formed a pattern. You know, I mean, it's probably not hard to see. Somebody knows what they're looking at.
Right.
But we need to get these kids somewhere besides making hamburgers.
Exactly.
It actually starts in middle school, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's when the advising and interest arises.
So 2C is one that I always have liked to do. It says, meet with students to listen and learn their perceptions of the quality of relationships. And so this comes through a superintendent student council. And so every high school will provide 5 students. And so these are students that cannot be all from the top 10, cannot all be from the honor society. It's you run the game. It could be the last person. It could be the person who has a frequent flyer to the office. It could be the person who has skipped the most. They can. I
don't know how much I have to say.
Literally, because well, first we'll know why are you skipping.
Exactly.
And what's causing you to. So the goal is to bring those 25 students together because that is the community of the school. And so talking to them once a month, usually every other month, bi-monthly, to get perception from them. And
Did you also take from the non-traditional high schools, CTEC?
Yeah, all of them were representatives before, and we had some wonderful results from the meetings. I would say, yes, we need a variety of representatives, but some of them were so shy that we didn't really get to hear from them. So that would be something that Yeah, these that talk too much in class probably should be.
Well, maybe have two separate groups, only because of the size, because you don't want to get 20 and 30 kids in one room. Nothing's going to happen.
Well,
Yes, it does. It
Yeah,
actually
it does. It really
So what-
does, because you have a
Well,
topic and they,
Yeah. And
What,
so-
from my experience,
But
is
remember-
that certain ones do, but you're going to lose people.
But remember, I've done this as a superintendent.
Yeah, well, I've done it as a teacher, so.
But then
And
I
an
was a teacher,
administrator.
but remember, I was a teacher too, and I had.
I said it as administrator
I was an
too.
administrator too, and I have not run into a kid that would not talk. You give them talking points and you put them in groups, and it's almost set up, well, it's set up in the
20 or
facility.
30?
It, let me finish. It's set up into, facilitators. So first you start off with a warm-up, and then there's this process called cold call, and you have to hear from everyone. Well, so when you're asking those questions, and you do it on I would do it on, I don't know if we still participate in half days here in this state.
We did for a while, I don't know if we still have it.
Well, then what we do is we pull them at like, so we have an hour and a half with them. And so an hour and a half with high schoolers, and we bring in topics that they want to talk about, and then we have topics that then they generate for us. So that's how we're getting this skill set. And then after we have built and knocked down that bridge of we don't want to talk, once you learn a child's name and you've built a relationship with them, they're going to talk to you. I've experienced that as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a principal, as a principal supervisor, deputy superintendent, superintendent. When you put something in front of students that they want to do, they respond.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it doesn't matter if it's 25, 30, and then we feed them pizza and they are all in.
So in an hour and a half, you're feeding them pizza and you got 30, 35 kids, okay?
25.
25 kids. Well,
You
I'm just
probably
saying
have
that you
somebody
got,
like Jim Morton from Cape Fear Community College here with you while they're listening to it.
And so there are times, yes, that we will have, we'll say the best meeting is when we had senior staff come and sit in, because the students were saying things, and it's like, are you kidding me? And so when we brought in senior staff, and then the next time, we invited principals. And we had taped it and said, okay, and then there were times where I said, all right, senior staff and myself, we're gonna come to your school, and your concerns were listed, and we're gonna go to the principal's office, and we're gonna go over this with the principal. Those were the best meetings, because then it was like, oh, he came. Oh, she came. So there are ways to do it. Yeah, you just, there's this thing that's called, what is it? I forget the terminology, but it's you allow wait time for people to talk.
Socratic.
You cannot go in with the perception that not everyone is going to have a voice. Everyone has a voice, so you allow the norms to come in, and no one gets to escape, meaning that they cannot sit there, we just said, not to talk, because everyone has it. You're here for a reason, and they let the people, so after they've been selected to be on the student council, they're going to talk. They're going to talk. Oftentimes, we were running over, walking them to the bus. I wrote several letters of recommendation for colleges for students that were in there. So it builds that type of policy. Went to basketball games, saw them at the basketball games. Those were the things that, it's like, hey, how do you know him? It's like, oh, I'm on this council. Well, how did you get on the council?
okay,
And so-
you know, we're running out of time,
Yeah,
and
so
this is an important part of the discussion. But what I was trying to point out, and I still think it's true, that that's a large number of students, and you're really not going to get near as good a feedback as if you had two separate, have two separate groups so that the numbers are smaller, so you can actually get clearer feedback, because it sounds like fun.
Haven't you done this?
I have.
Yeah, well,
So
and
in
I've
his
done things,
experience, it's worked, so that's
Yeah.
the
well, I'm
point.
trying to get more kids being more authentic in a setting, that sounds pretty intense, and you're not
It's
necessarily
not.
going to get
It
near as
works.
much,
I have faith in Dr. Faust, let me tell you. I bet
And
he
with
can
his
do it.
personality,
Yes.
he's going to draw it
I
up.
believe in him.
They'll trust him to be able to be
it's not worried
honest.
about his personality, I'm talking about the kids giving feedback.
All right, so on that note,
I appreciate your,
yes.
all your optimism.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all the time, I love it. It takes a lot of courage
It
at
does.
this time, in this place, in this moment. The country finds itself in to be an optimist, and I love the courage.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, everybody, thank you for our Saturday morning. Hopefully, everyone has gotten some good information out of today's discussion. Thank you, Dr. Faust, for sharing so much. And I would entertain a motion to. All right. All right, Ms. Bowie, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Eastep?
Aye.
Ms. Justice?
Aye.
Ms. Nichols?
Aye.
And Mr. Ravenbark.
Amanda thanks your punctuality.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Everybody have a great weekend.